Well, hello. We are doing a video today inside of our car, which is not my favorite place to do a video. We have a studio, we have other places, but we thought we'd stop and take this one real quick. And normally I do these videos by myself, but I have my lovely wife, Susanna, with me, and really thankful that she could jump on this video. And we want to talk together about something that is really important and I think is very relevant to right now. And so we just want to take a minute to talk about marriage, and in particular how to deal with the various struggles that we go through in our marriages. And I think all of us can understand that. As always, if you have not subscribed, please do that to the YouTube page. I like to put up a lot of content that I hope will be helpful as we deal with various issues of life, and this would be one of them. Our marriages. The Bible says in Psalm 11 and verse 3, it makes a statement. It says, if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? If the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? And that's a good question. It's one of those rhetorical questions, and you have to kind of think about it a little bit. But we understand that if the foundation of a house or the foundation of a building or the foundation of anything else is destroyed, then everything built on top of it will crumble. We can look in our culture and our society, and we see that in a lot of ways, the foundation of our culture, the foundation of even our nation is crumbling, and it's having a hard time right now. It's beginning to break apart, and a lot of the institutions, a lot of the things that we used to count on are crumbling with it. And if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? Where does that leave those of us that want to do the right thing? We see this all around us. I would say this, though, that nowhere do we see foundations being destroyed more than in our homes, in our families, and in particular in our marriages. Susanna and I have been talking about this over the last couple of days, and the reason we wanted to stop and do this video real quick is because it seems like everyone we talk to right now is struggling in their marriage. Everyone is struggling. In our organization, the Mighty Oaks Foundation, we work with families, we work with individuals who are dealing with trauma, but even in our leadership team, it seems like just about everyone is struggling in their marriage. Now, these aren't necessarily dramatic struggles or marriage-ending struggles. Some of them, perhaps could be, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the friction and a lot of the things that take our eyes off of everything else because our most important relationship is struggling. At church, our friends are dealing with things, and it seems to be all around us right now. And when you see it everywhere, you need to just push pause for a second and say, what's going on? And can we add something to the conversation that will be helpful? One of the things that has brought this, I think, to our attention is even in our own marriage, there are some stressors and some things going on in our marriage that even recently have caused us to have some friction. We'll say friction. We weren't fighting because we don't fight,
right? But
friction.
Okay.
And in particular, the kind of friction that caused us to not talk to each other for a little bit. And if you're married,
4 days, 3 days,
a couple of days, whatever. So if you're married, you know what these times are like. And the cause of it all becomes very a lot less important than what you're dealing with on the other side of it. And it's all of us are dealing with these things. And I know for me, when I'm having troubles, or we're having friction, we're having difficulties in our marriage, maybe some stressors in our marriage, it begins to affect everything else. It makes me feel bad. In a lot of ways, it makes me feel unimportant. And it makes me question a lot of the other things that I do. And in particular, trying to help other people. When I look at the stress in our own marriage and our own relationship, I then go, well, if I can't help us, then how can I help someone else? And when you're in an organization that seeks to help other people, that's a really bad place to be. And it can be really hurtful. And I know Susanna was saying, and I can't speak for women. I'm not sure women can speak for women, but I can't speak for women. But there is stress, and it makes us feel bad.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times I know for me, especially with most recently when Jeremy and I kind of went through this time of not talking to each other for, it was like 3 full days. And that's the longest that we've never gone through something like that before, where we just did not speak to each other for a period of time. And
which is an improvement, because sometimes we're just yelling at each other. So
I don't ever yell. So
sometimes I'm just yelling.
But so that just not speaking to each other for 3 full days. And I know for me, it just felt really, I felt really alone, and I felt really isolated in that. And I felt like I could not, really it was taking a time for me to process what kind of waiting for him to make the first step. Should I say something to him? And just kind of like, who's going to take the first step? And I just felt really isolated in that. And how are we going to come out of this? And then I kind of started feeling like, well, you know, if this is how it's going to be, I'm okay with that too. And so I think there's that struggle too within that when you're having conflict is sometimes you kind of start to become okay with it after it's been a period of time. And that is very unhealthy. And after just a couple of days, the Holy Spirit was really starting to speak to me about that. And I started to realize, no, that's not what I want for you. That's not what I want for your marriage. And that's not what I want for anyone. And so just coming to the point of reconciliation, but dealing with those struggles, I think it just kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
That for me is really difficult during that time. And that's kind of some of the things I go through internally when we're kind of struggling.
Yeah, it can mess you up inside, and you start to feel unimportant and all those things you say to yourself that really aren't true, but you feel that way, and it impacts everything else that you do. So what do you do when you find yourself in these times? And you will. I wrote down a couple of things, and we'll talk about these briefly. I don't want this to be a whole thing, but just some thoughts. Number one, understand that there is a reason. There is a reason. I guarantee that if you're not trying to do the right thing in your marriage, you're probably not going to struggle much. I mean, I know there are other situations and other struggles that people deal with, but if you're a Christian and you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to have a good marriage as well as helping other people, there are going to be struggles. I've been talking about this with a couple of people recently, and someone said to me this morning, people have to understand that when they decide to be involved in helping other people, that they're really signing up in a lot of ways for their own battles. And that's just the truth. Why? Because if the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do? The devil, and we don't like to always talk about this, but he doesn't want us to be successful helping other people, but instead of attacking that, he's going to attack us. And I think we can all feel that. You know, we have men's programs in our organization going on right now, and Susanna and her team are getting ready for a women's program this next week. And why do we always see this upswell of this kind of stuff when this is going on? Well, there's a reason. And the reason is because if you can be taken off your game there, you won't be any good helping anyone else. And man, that's a terrible place to be. But understand, there is a reason. There's a reason this is happening. And it's not just because you're human people. That's true as well. But there is a reason. Here's the second thing to think about. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. You feel alone, I think, in a lot of ways when you're going through something like this. And then you start to think, well, I'm the only one dealing with this because, you know, Facebook. Everybody on Facebook's super happy all the time and everything's amazing. But we're all dealing with this. And I think that's something that you and I were talking about this morning.
Yeah. It just seems like everybody, it doesn't matter who it is. And I think that's another thing that I feel like is important. It's a really important thing to understand, is that you're not alone in it, that it doesn't matter who you are. If you are trying to do something for the Lord, then Satan is going to step up his game, and he's going to just kind of, I was talking to someone today, and kind of we were using the word like prowling around, like he's kind of like circling, like, and that's kind of what he's doing. And I feel like that's what he's doing with a lot of people that I'm close with. And so I feel like it's really important to know that it doesn't matter who you are in that.
Yeah, it happens to all of us, and we don't want this to happen to other people, but there is a certain comfort that comes from knowing, all right, I'm not the only one. This happens to everyone. And even those with the best of marriages are working on it, and that's why they have good marriages, because of times like this and how they've responded to times like this. Here's a third thing. You know, people ask, well, what do I do? We'll go back to, my husband's not talking to me right now. My wife isn't talking to me right now. What should I do? And the best advice I could give is always this: do what's right. Do the right thing. Whether or not your husband or your wife is doing the right thing, do the right thing. And you know, Susanna and I had a disagreement, and that led to us going, all right, we're not going to talk to each other. And eventually Susanna said, hey, we need to talk about this. She did the right thing, even though I wasn't doing the right thing. And that was kind of the thing that broke up the log jam and allowed us to talk about it and work through that. Do the right thing. Show love, express appreciation. Sometimes that's what someone wants. And the reason they're responding to you the way they are is because they don't feel appreciated or loved or cared for or wanted. And these are things you need to think about. And even though you may not feel like it, because we don't all feel like it, do the right thing. And it's really hard to do the right thing. when you don't want to do it.
Right.
But that's the best time to do the right thing. So do the right thing.
I think a lot of times too, it's that pride in us that doesn't want to do the right thing because we want to hold it over that other person. And so that's kind of how I looked at it too. It's that pride versus humility, and just understanding that it's for the greater good. It's for the greater good of that relationship. And what's more important to you, this little thing that you're maybe disagreeing about or arguing about, or is it the relationship itself?
Yeah, that's right. And then the fourth thing, I have 4 subpoints. So I'm going to go through them quickly, all right? But this is really important. But I want to preface this last one with this. I am not talking right now about times or situations where there's physical abuse or some other type of abuse taking place. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a different conversation. What we're talking about right now are those, again, those trials, those frictions, those difficulties that every healthy marriage has. And these are the things you can work through, all right? So here's 4 things to think about. And this is my 4th point. So the first point is, there is a reason. Second point, it happens to all of us. The third point, do the right thing, even if you're the only one doing the right thing. The 4th one is this: follow the process. I want to give you a quick process to follow, all right? Here's the process. Letter A, realize that your spouse is not the enemy. Your spouse is not the enemy. When you're in the middle of this thing, you feel like they're the enemy. There is an enemy, but it's not your spouse. It's the one who's trying to destroy the foundation of your marriage. Understand, accept, believe that your spouse is not the enemy. They're a broken person just like you, trying to have a good relationship just like you. They're not the enemy. They're not the one that you should be fighting against. The second thing is this: in the process, take it to the Lord together. There's something about praying together and going to the Lord together and acknowledging that God is the one who's going to work us or move us through this. That's really important. God initiated marriage. He established marriage. He calls marriage the picture of his relationship to us. Take it to the Lord. Your spouse is not the enemy. Take it to the Lord together. The third one is this: get help. Get help. And a couple things here. Find someone who is maybe a little older or more mature than you, someone whose marriage you look up to, someone who could mentor you in this, and go to them and let them help you. I would caution you though, not everyone in your life needs to know about what you're dealing with. Don't open yourself up to sharing your squabble with your spouse with everyone you know, even good people. Find someone who can actually help you, actually talk you through what you're dealing with, and go to them and let them do that. Get help. Don't try to do it on your own. You don't need to do it on your own. You shouldn't have tried to do it on your own. And the third thing, or the fourth thing rather, is this: in the process, understand everything that's at stake. Understand everything that's at stake. Your feelings are not the most important thing going on when you're dealing with a problem or, again, a friction point, a stressor in your relationship. The glory of God is the biggest thing. The relationship, the care, the stewardship over that relationship that God has given to you is very important. That's at stake. Your testimony, your reputation to others, and the hope that others have as they look at you, that's at stake. Your family, your kids, and on I could go. Take the time when you're in the middle of a situation that's difficult and ask the question: what's at stake here? What's worth fighting for? You could ask it that way. And why should we continue to work on this and go together? A lot more we could say here, but understand there is a reason. It happens to all of us. We need to do what is right even when we don't feel like doing what's right. And there is a process. Follow the process. Your spouse isn't the enemy. Take it to the Lord together. Get help. Find someone who can help you through that, and understand everything that is really at stake. And if you'll do that, just take the time to go through this thought process, then you'll come out on the other side okay. And I hope this is a help. Again, so many people struggling. It's normal. We all deal with it. We said this. But now is a time where Satan seems to really be on the prowl and going after people. And I want to encourage you, don't let him get the victory in this. You want to add anything?
No.
You always have something to add.
I know.
No? Okay.
No. I just we just want to be an encouragement, and it does seem like the last week or so, so many conversations with people that are kind of dealing with this, and that's kind of our desires. We just wanted to, as having dealt with it ourselves within the last couple of weeks, we're not the only ones, and just wanted to be an encouragement.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope this helped to you. Let us know. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, please do that. I don't get anything out of it other than I try to provide content that can be a help to you. And I trust that you'll be able to benefit from that. Thank you. And we'll talk again.